Live now, year 7 history, going live now. We are looking at the series on the Roman history, year 7s who are tuning in. Right now, we are live, going for history lessons. We are trying to look at the Roman history, the period of the Roman history. And just to recap some of the main topics which we have gone through. Number one topic, we looked at the sources. How does somebody know about the Romans? We know the Romans lived 1,500 years ago, but how do historians, current or modern historians, know about the Romans? We were able to do that in class. Then, number two topic, we looked at archaeology. How important is archaeology as a tool of history? How archaeology can be used to reconstruct history? And we were able to understand a lot about archaeology. Then, after that, in class, we looked at sources and we realized sources are very important. But we also realized that you cannot always trust historical sources. That is also something we were able to discuss in class at that particular time. After doing that, then we started dwelling on the Roman Empire. We looked at the origin of the Roman Empire or the beginning of the Roman Empire. How did it begin? And we realized from small beginning to the greatest empire in the world. We did that together in class, and we were able to see the origin and the phases just from the ancient Rome to the kingdom to the republic and what we call the Roman Empire. Together, we were able to do that. And then we looked at the expansion. That was another topic we looked at in class, expansion of the Roman Empire. And we looked how it's expanded and it went through different stages. We analyzed all the stages for the expansion of the Roman Empire. Today in this class, we want to look at another aspect of the Roman history, and we are looking at the Roman army. That's what we are looking at today, the Roman army. That's what we want to discuss today in class. And the army is very important for any country, and each country in the world has an army. So we are looking at a very important aspect of the Roman history, the Roman army. That's what we are looking at. Very important because the power of the country depends on its army, how strong that army is. And we realize the Roman expanded widely. We realize that the Roman expanded widely. And the main reason why the Romans expanded widely is that they had the strongest army in the world. They had the strongest army in the world, and that was the major reason why the Romans expanded widely. Today, we want to look at army. Today, we want to look at the army. We are going to discuss every aspect of the Roman army. We are going to discuss every aspect of the Roman army. The army existed for 2,600 years from all those phases. Ancient Rome, then we talk about the Roman kingdom, then we talk the army in the republic, then we look at the army during the era or the epoch of the empire. So the army having existed for 2,600 years, that is also important to remember. And the Roman army was the largest at that particular time in the world at that particular time. So, and the most powerful at that particular time, the most advanced and well trained. So, and had the best weapons. So, the Roman army, very important aspect of the Roman history, very important aspect of the Roman history. Today, we are dwelling on that element of the Roman army, very, very important to remember. So we want to dwell on that topic. We want to dwell on that topic and be able to look at major elements of the Roman army and look at the major elements of the Roman army. One, we want to look at who was in the Roman army. We want to look at who was in the Roman army. What were the major people in the Roman army? And we had two main people in the Roman army. We realized in our earlier discussion, we talked about the empire. The empire now, it had expanded or conquered even foreign countries. And we are going to have two main people in the army. We're going to have the Roman citizens themselves in the army, and we are going to have the non-citizens in those areas, which were provinces. You remember saying in classes, areas that were conquered were provinces, and they had the Roman governors there. And they had the Roman governors. So we are going to look at the composition of the army and who made up the army. That's the first thing we want to dwell in. We had citizens and non-citizens. Both of them were allowed in the Roman army. Both of them were allowed in the Roman army. And they were given different names. And they were given different names. We are going to call the citizens of Rome themselves the legion. That's what we are going to call them. And then the non-citizens from the conquered areas, from the provinces, we are going to call them the auxiliaries. So we have the major composition of the army, the major composition of army, the legions, the Roman citizens, the auxiliaries, people from the conquered provinces joining the Roman army. That is one of the major broad category of the Roman army. So we had the legions and the auxiliaries in the Roman army. So we have that major category or broad of the people who are in the Roman army. So to be a legion, what did it require to be? We've already talked of one qualification. You must be a Roman citizen to be a legion. You must be a Roman citizen. Then what else apart from being a Roman citizen? That's the next question. What else? That's a basic qualification and compulsory qualification. You must be a Roman citizen. Then physically, you must be fit. That was also one of the qualifications to join the Roman army. Physical fitness was very important in joining the Roman army. And the reason was that they did strenuous activities. They did strenuous activities. So that if you are not physically very good, you will not be able to do strenuous activities. For example, carrying equipment, 25 kilos of equipment, and also marching or doing drills. This is very strenuous activity. This is very strenuous activity. So number two qualification, apart from being a Roman citizen, you must be physically fit. You must be physically fit to join the Roman army. You must be physically fit to join the Roman army. Then another qualification was you must be 1.6 meters tall. You must be 1.6 meters tall. The tallness was important so that you are able to see far where the enemy is. You are able to see far where the enemy is. So you had to be very tall in able perhaps to be able to see far. 1.6 meters tall. 1.6 meters tall. Then another qualification, you had to swear an oath of loyalty. You had to swear an oath of loyalty, pledging that you'd be loyal, pledging that you'd be loyal and serve the Roman Empire and serve the Roman Empire. So the basic qualification, and then you had to serve in the army for 25 years. You had to serve in the army for 25 years. So the legionaries, the soldiers belonging to the legionaries, the soldiers, the citizens of Rome themselves, the citizen of Rome himself, joining the army at 17 years, joining the army at 17 years, and serving the army for 25 years, and serving the army for 25 years. So you had to have the necessary qualification for joining the army. And we're saying this is a very important aspect of the Roman history because the empire depended on the strength of the army. It's the army that kept the empire as strong as it was. We always talk about the influence of the Roman Empire. We remember the last lesson I quoted. One historian has said, when Rome sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. When Rome sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. That is the influence, the impact which the Romans had in the world. And we are saying the most important or major reason was the strength of the Roman army, was the strength of the Roman army. So the Roman army is a very important element of the Roman history when we're discussing the history of the Romans, because it's the army that made the Romans to be what they were. Then we also have the auxiliaries, people in the provinces, in the areas which had been conquered by the Romans that joined the army. And they had to serve the army, but then they enjoyed the privileges that later on they were given the privilege of becoming Roman citizens, and their children also would become Roman citizens. And they had the skills which were exploited by the Romans, were good at frontier duties, border duties. They were good in patrols, very excellent at patrolling. Those were the auxiliaries, the non-citizens in the Roman army. The non-citizen in the Roman army were very excellent horsemen. Those ones were there participating in the Roman army. That is the broad category of the people who were in the Roman army, the legionaries and the auxiliaries, the legionaries and the auxiliaries, the broad categories of the people in the Roman army. The army itself had also a person we call the standard bearer. The army itself had what we call the standard bearer, and this was the most experienced and the most trusted of the Roman soldiers. You talk about the standard bearer, the person setting the mark standard. That is, he's setting the standard in the army, the best of the best. Somebody will call that the best of the best. So that top-notch soldier, is the one we are calling the standard bearer. That is the soldier we are calling the standard bearer in the Roman army. So we have the standard bearer, the most experienced, the most trusted, the top-notch soldier in the Roman army is the standard bearer, and he had to carry the flag of the company. He had to carry the flag of the company when they're marching, the standard bearer in front, carrying the flag of the company is leading. So he's setting the standard. He's setting the standard for the rest of the people in the army. And that's why we are calling him the standard bearer. That's why we call him the standard bearer, because he is setting the standard for the rest of the army. He's setting the standard for the rest of the army. So we are looking at who is who in the Roman army. That's what we are trying to look at. Who is who in the Roman army? The legionaries, the citizens, the citizens of Rome itself. Then we had the auxiliaries, the non-citizens in the Roman provinces, in the areas conquered by Rome. And in each of these sections, we have the standard bearer. In which each of these sections, we had the standard bearer. So very important people in the Roman army, very important people in the Roman army, the biggest, the most equipped army in the 15th century at that particular time is the Roman army. Very, very important when we are discussing about the Roman army. Putting on the best equipment, they had the best weapons, had helmets at that particular time, had scarves, tunic, swords, spears, and the military boots. Very well equipped army. Somebody is talking about a very well equipped army, very modern for that particular time. So you look at what they used to put on, the armor, which the Roman soldier would put on, a very important armor of the Roman soldier. So you're talking about a very well equipped army at that particular time. So it's important to remember Rome, it's what it was because of the army. Rome was what we call what it was because of the army. Then perhaps one will also look at the training. How was the training? Now we've looked at the qualification. Now we've looked at the qualification. Now we want to look at how one was trained, because after joining, you had to go through training, and it was rigorous and strenuous training, very rigorous and strenuous training. You had to go through a lot of endurance as a soldier. You had to go through a lot of endurance as a soldier. So strenuous and rigorous training of the Roman army, marching 30 kilometers, perhaps to enhance their muscle capacities, 30 kilometers, so that you enhance your muscle capacities. Then you had to carry heavy equipment that was also in the Roman army. Then they were also trained how to use weapons at that particular time. And they were taught a lot of skills and how perhaps to use a lot of speed in carrying out their tactics. So very important when we are discussing about the Roman army to remember the training, how one was trained to become a Roman soldier. So it's important to remember. So the Roman army, very important aspect of the Roman civilization, very important aspect of the Roman civilization. Without the army, the Roman Empire would not have been what it was. The strength of the Roman Empire depended on the Roman army. So the army are very, very important to remember. The sanctuaries also, and the people in it were the centurions. We remember those kind of people in the Roman army. So it's important to remember that the Roman army was the most important element of the Roman civilization. So I want to finish today's lesson. I'm just on lesson number 7. For those of us who are listening, tuning in live now, I urge for more subscription to this channel as we go through year 7 history of the Roman history. That will help us a lot in our revision packages as we go through that. So as we prepare for the next lesson, how did the Romans fight? As we prepare for the next lesson, we want to look at the tactics. We know each army has techniques. Which technique or strategy or tactics did the Romans use? That will be our next lesson, to look at some of the tactics on the battlefront now. We just looked at the organization, who was in the army, and what was going on in the army, the life in the army. Our next lesson, I'm preparing you, year sevens, will be the tactics. We want to look at the strategies employed by the Romans on the battlefront when they are in the battle. How did they behave? Which tactics or which strategy did they use to defeat their enemy? That is the next lesson. Subscribe and join me in the next lesson. Very interesting lesson in trying to look at the tactics of the Romans, how they are going now to be on the battlefront and how they are doing it on the battlefront. Wish you the best as we revise year 7. Thank you much for those who are subscribing to this channel for year 7 revision channel. Thank you. God bless you. Meet again and look at the tactics of the Romans in our next lesson. That is it.